Recording. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to episode 2 of Tesch Talk. I'm Dylan Tesch here with a good friend of mine, good old Mason LeBlanc.
That's
What's good, bro? What's good? We're going to be discussing our division predictions for the NFL today, and let's take it away. What you want to start with, Mason? NFC?
Man, I think we got to go get ourselves started with the NFC. We'll go start with the NFC least NFC.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll agree with that. They were definitely arguably the worst division last season in football. So, I don't even know if it's arguably. They were probably the worst.
They're definitely in a weird transition period right now, but you definitely can't put it on all of the teams. It's definitely half and half. Injuries last year definitely kept the Eagles down.
Absolutely.
Partying in Cabo decided to keep Zeke down for the Cowboys for a bit. The Giants are just an eternal dumpster fire, and Washington, with their now being the Washington football team, that's they're just definitely just in a coaching transition. They have no idea what they're doing.
Right.
So you're the host. Who you got? What are your ranking? What's your prediction for the NFC East?
All right, so I'm going to start it out. First, I have I have the Philadelphia Eagles at 10-6, going with the number one.
Okay.
Looking at their schedule, seems kind of right. Again, we'll see what happens, but I'm concerned about their wide receiver youth. Will that hold up? And then their linebacking core kind of worries me a little bit. They're young, inexperienced, but they've also been in the system. A couple of them have these past few years, so hopefully that'll help them. But again, inexperience. We really don't know how that linebacking core is going to work. And hopefully the secondary meshes, adding Darius Slay in that group. We don't know who that true second corner is going to be yet between Sidney Jones or Avonte Maddox. And then they did add N'Keal Robbie Coleman from the Rams for nickel, and then safeties. They did lose Malcolm Jenkins, which was probably their best safety last season. And, well, probably he was. But they signed back Rodney McLeod, and they're moving Jalen Mills to the safety spot. So they just have a bunch of concerns in that defensive area because it's inexperienced. We haven't seen what that group can do together yet. So, but I still think the offense can prevail. If they get Alshon back healthy, that'll help on the outside. And then right now they're honestly just trying to copy the Chiefs' form of wide receiver with just speed, adding Jalen Reagor, Quez Watkins, and John Hightower, both speed dudes out of the rookies. And then sadly, I wish he would have not opted out, but they did trade for Marquise Goodwin, but we're not going to get to see him this season. But we'll see how speed goes. And then again, duration of Carson Wentz too.
For sure. So, well, I too have the Eagles going at they're going to be winning that division. I have them winning it out at 12-4 over their strength of schedule. Mainly, you got the best quarterback in the division. Carson Wentz is going to win you football games, and as long as you can keep it protected on the offensive side of the ball, which they're going to definitely do now this season. They've done a little bit of upgrade on their offensive side to give him a little bit more. The big thing also too, we saw the dangerous weapon that Deshaun Jackson still is at being 1,000 years old.
Yeah, that is true.
To outrun people, at whatever he is.
Right.
So that right there, I still have the Eagles winning that, and they're also another thing with their strength of schedule. They're such a they have such a limited. I think they're sitting here based off of what I have them listed as. So you're looking at the 23rd easiest schedule in all of the NFL. So they're going to be playing some easy teams. I mean, when you got to face the Giants and Washington 4 games out of that's 4 of your games off the season off the bat. You can just put a check and call that done.
And we'll see. We did lose to the Giants once last season, so.
Yeah, for sure. But I definitely have the Eagles topping out that division at 12-4.
I got you. All right. Well, just moving down the list after that, I do have the second. I have Dallas Cowboys on that list going 9-7. Really, can their defense and O-line stay healthy? I mean, they still have a great offensive line, which they always have. Getting added pieces. Their retirement of Travis Frederick definitely hurt them, but we'll see what happens with
Yes,
them on that. They drafted a corner, which they definitely needed to do. So their secondary again is a concern, but they did add HaHa Clinton Dix, so I think that'll give them depth there. And really, they also really beefed up their defensive line, adding Everson Griffin, Don Terry Poe. It does suck that they did add Gerald McCoy, but had to cut him because of a season-ending injury. Honestly, really, what I feel with this team, what really is their key is, can Dak just keep that contract in the back of his mind and not just play without thinking about it, really?
oh
And
yeah,
then can Zeke carry that load for him alongside? And then again, CeeDee Lamb was a great addition, in my opinion. He's arguably, in my opinion, he was the best receiver in the draft. So, and then alongside, I think they did overpay Amari Cooper, but he'll definitely help on that end. And then Michael Gallup, we saw what he did last season. Him as the third man, they might just forget about him, a lot of these secondaries, and he could easily contribute.
yeah. Completely agree with your assessment. I have the Cowboys eking out there at a second. Uh, so going off of my original predictions off here, just going through here, some may call me crazy, but I had the Cowboys, just looking at their schedule, I have them going a tie with Philadelphia, going 12-4. Now, that being said, based off of strength of schedule, they're going to get slightly bumped down. I mean, Dak Prescott's chasing Carson Wentz's coattails the whole time, but there's reason that Carson Wentz got paid before him. He's the better quarterback in the division. Now, can the Cowboys go against their team? I mean, you're also looking at another top 20 easy schedule. But I mean, when you look at it, they have such a stretch in the middle of the year where, they've got some teams where they're definitely going to rack up the losses, but then they've got teams where they can win against. They've got a young Cincinnati Bengals team that they're going to be
Yeah.
playing in the year, the Washingtons, the Arizonas, the Clevelands that they're going to be seeing. Really, what it comes down to is these tight games that they're going to see against people like Pittsburgh. They're going to see, what do they pull out a crazy year where they beat Philadelphia both games and still lose the division. We'll have to be able to see what happens with that. But I still have the Cowboys having a solid year. The whole thing, like you said, is Dak Prescott gonna, keep that? Does he have money on his mind, or does he have winning on his mind? That's really gonna be the key there. And then it's always the distractions. Is Jerry Jones going to insert himself into the coronavirus discussion? Is he going to make himself the key guy for all of these points? So I still have the Cowboys doing fairly well. That's going to be it's always a coin flip in there. It's the one of those two, because Giants, Washington, they have no shot.
Um, don't disagree with you there. Like you said, yeah, Cowboys have the third easiest schedule all season, so that can definitely help them produce more than 10 games. But as you see in the NFL sometimes, well, mainly, you don't really have a lot of people win over 10 games, especially two in the same division winning 12. So, but I like your aggressiveness on this, and we'll see what happens.
Hey man, Vegas is going to be really mad when I put that bet in.
Shit. All right, moving down, I have 3-4. I have New York Giants at 3-13, and the Washington Football Team at 1-15. So starting with the Giants on that one, they do have Golden Tate, but I just think they lack receiving talent. I really do. That's going to be tough for them.
The Giants with no offseason, rookie coach. The only upside that they may have is that they have Jason Garrett coming in that makes tell them, be like, hey, the Cowboys are going to do this whenever, we get in certain situations. But the biggest thing with, what we also got, Mike McCarthy's going to the Cowboys, bro.
Yeah,
That's a big one too.
it is.
If Mike McCarthy is going to just put his foot down and say, hey, boys, you want to actually win something, I'll show you how it's done. We will see. But with the Giants, they're just, they're still in the shadows of, wanting Eli Manning to do good. And I have them going 2-14, Washington winning one and out of their 16 games season. So I'm sorry, 2-14 for Giants, 1-15 for
Wait,
Washington.
let's go back. What were you saying about Eli Manning?
Oh, they're still just wishing he would, he was there and he would do good.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I was like, I thought you forgot he retired.
No, no, no. They have Daniel Jones just because he kind of looks like him. That's the whole purpose that they got him in the first place. They're like, hey, we can dress him up. We maybe even put him in 10, let him run around. But they want, deep down in every New York Giant fan heart, they wanted fans' hearts. They wanted Eli Manning to do good. That's the whole only thing with them. He's such a hometown boy where he just, they wanted him to do everything for him.
Mm,
But yeah, no, that the rest of that division, garbage.
yeah, I mean, and then we're gonna talk. I guess we'll talk a little bit about the Washington football team. I mean, I don't know a whole lot what to talk about other than, I mean, we saw a glimpse of Dwayne Haskins last season. He did not do a whole lot really,
These
but he also didn't play a whole season. So maybe that'll be upgrade. I do like their new head coach in Ron Rivera, so that could help out with something. He is battling cancer right now though, so I hope he gets better. He'll soon. The main thing with the Redskins, though, is they're always battling internal or external situations. Like with the name change, that's a distraction. With the scandals going on, I don't know a whole lot of the facts on those, but it's not looking good. And so, again, another scandals, distractions, that always hurts a team. And again, their talent level isn't all the way there to me on offense. So,
Yeah, the only hope they really have is that Dwayne Haskins takes a step up, which is always hard because this is the year they always have the sophomore slump. They always have you going down,
yeah.
which, like you said, last year isn't even much to work off of. So that's it. The only hope that they have really is that Ron Rivera can turn them around defensively and turn them into just a hard-nosed defensive football team.
Yeah.
But the only that's really going to be where they run into a lot of their problems.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, Ron Rivera, great defensive coach. We've seen that in the past, and they do have defensive talent here on this roster. They added Landon Collins, so that should definitely help them this season on the, I guess, secondary end and second level. So, but I just don't think their offensive talent level, and really, it's the Redskins. All you hear about them is distractions and negative things. Maybe the negative attitude will change. Who knows? But as of right now, I have them going 1-15.
For sure. Yeah, they're. I mean, when you're a dumpster fire, you're a dumpster fire. Can't do much about it. There's very little you can do to put out said dumpster fire, but
Yeah.
it is what it is on that.
All
Um,
right.
yeah. So that going you. So that's it for NFC East.
Yes,
So
sir.
that
Let's
now that the least of that has been done. Uh,
let's
let's
uh, let's move on down to the NFC West. Let's get on this. Which starting right from the back,
this
I like that clapping.
this division is just I mean, outside of I mean, this has got to be one of the most interesting, in my opinion, one of the more interesting divisions that we have. And
Agreed.
just I mean, the whole thing for me right now going off, I'll let you say who you got winning the whole thing.
Well, before I get started on that, which will be soon, I just want to say I think, in my opinion, this will be the most competitive division this season. They have so much talent that it's ridiculous. And you saw what happened last year where two of them got in. The Rams came out or finished strong last season, and then with the addition of the talent level with the Cardinals, you never know what will happen here. But I have the Seattle Seahawks winning this division at 14-2, strongly because I don't see Russell Wilson fail that often. This man can do almost anything. He really has been able to do a lot with an average O line, average receivers, but hopefully Lockett and DK Metcalf can step up for him. The addition to Jamal Adams, and they've always had a solid defense too. So again, they really could prevail here. They did lose to Davion Clowney, but he was also a late add last season, so they still have their core, and you never know what's going to happen with that. I think Greg Olson will be a great addition for them too, getting a solid tight end for him, because you saw what happened last season. He was using tight ends quite often and had multiple of them doing fairly well. So add DK Metcalf with Greg Olson, and then, of course, Tyler Lockett. That's speed and aggression right there, and people who can catch the football. Well, hopefully DK can get his catching up a little bit, but Again,
Sure.
I still love that guy. Um, they also, and then the running back competition. You saw Chris Carson balled last season, but they also signed Carlos Hyde this offseason. They also still have Rashad Penny, who they drafted a couple years back. So, I just really think this team is too talented and has a great head coach in Pete Carroll, where they're going to just be able to win this division this season and overcome everything that happened last season.
The biggest thing with the Seahawks is that just going through the past couple of years, this is, in my opinion, one of the biggest shifts of a football team that I've seen in a long time, because they went from the Legion of Boom being a defensive, hard-nosed football team, where this is Russell Wilson's team.
Yep.
At the end of the day, I don't care what anybody says. The defensive side of Seattle is no more. They're good. They're okay, but their Pro Football Focus has their defensive line ranked one of the worst in the NFL. So they have them actually going out right now, and that's the thing. I was looking at it. I think Pete Carroll has a lot of pressure on him because right now Russell Wilson has proven time and time again that he's the man. He's the dude
Absolutely.
to carry that franchise, and you got to be able to do something. I think that defense is, they let him down in the against the Packers last season. They let freaking Aaron Rodgers just do whatever he wanted, and then at the very end, it's kind of letting that slip through their fingers.
Yeah.
But I think this is going to be a team to watch out for. I have them winning as well. I have them actually coming out with I actually have them, just looking off the top, I have them having one of the best records in the entire NFC with a record of 13-3.
See, I have them with the top NFC record as well, 14-2.
Yeah, so I mean, just their strength of schedule is not super crazy.
They're right in the middle.
Yeah. And then, just the people that they're going to be playing, they're going to be playing them at the right side of time, when they need to be playing them. The
Yep.
only thing here that I will say that we'll look at it is that the only thing that you've got to look at with Seattle is going to be if they can stay healthy. When they
Exactly.
have a week, I believe they have it. So looking at it right here, they have a week 6 bye. So they're going to have to play 10 games in a row with maintaining health on that side. So that's going to be a lot of football. So Russell Wilson will take you to the promised land. You just got to give him some freaking. I'm with you. I think Tyler Lockett is. I think Tyler Lockett's an amazing receiver. I've got him. Numerous people have had him on their fantasy teams. I think DK Metcalf is a stud.
Yep.
Got it. And your running backs. They've got like you're saying, Rashad Penny's going to be doing good. They've got their guys. So really, it's going to come down. In my opinion, it's going to come down to Pete Carroll making the correct, getting that defense ready to play football.
Well, and again, they did the trade with Jamal Adams. I think fits this perfectly, and I think their secondary will step up this season, and that's a big part. Again, I think secondary is huge in the NFL. That's one of the best spots for defense that you have to be strong at if you want to win games on that side of the ball.
For sure. Now, with that being said, we got the remainder of this division, which to me is just. I mean, you've got
You never know.
You've got the Super Bowl appearing San
Niners.
Francisco, which I also have them, which is insane because this is one of the toughest divisions to pick because not only do you have them, you also have the Rams, who've got a solid football team.
They really do.
The
They
Rams,
have talent.
we've got one of the best offensive minds in the game with Sean McVay coming in there. You've got arguably one of the top 5 players in the league today, regardless of position, with Aaron Donald. He's he's able to take that team defensively to another position. Offensively, you've still got guys. It's going to be interesting. So with Henry, if he's going to be able to stay healthy. And then you've also got and then I'm interested to see Cooper Kupp play some good football.
They finally got him back after injury last season, and we saw what he did the season before. Dude definitely showed he can play in this league, even though we all knew that. But there's always speculation on talent.
Yeah. Well, and another huge thing, man, they got to be able to play in that ball out in that big old stadium of theirs.
Oh, that stadium's beautiful. That stadium is beautiful.
I know you're a big Hard Knocks guy. What have you been
Yeah.
seeing on Hard Knocks? What's the inside scoop on on the HBO side of
I
this?
mean, they're not not giving a whole lot, but they definitely have given us an inside of the stadium. So that's why I know it's beautiful. So that's all about that. And you can tell from Hard Knocks, really, I can tell Jared Goff's ready to step up. This man's showing that he can lead, and Sean McVay loves the guy. So that'll definitely help. Okay, so yeah, so right now here, in second, I also have I have the San Francisco 49ers in second at a 9-7 record, but I also have the Rams at 9-7 as well. But they're three due to the strength of schedule and also division winnings based off of my schedule rankings as well. But going back, yeah, like you said, Super Bowl reigning, Super Bowl finalists, I should say, they have the fourth toughest schedule this season. So that's already going to be tough. You know how hard it is to get back to the Super Bowl. You saw the same thing happen to the Rams. Rams made it to the Super Bowl, lost, didn't even make the playoffs the next season. So
Yeah.
it is tough to even get to the playoffs after even making the Super Bowl. Even if you win it, it's hard to get back unless you were the Patriots and Tom Brady. But well, that's a different story. So with the Niners, they have the addition of Trent Wilson on their offensive line. That'll definitely add boost to their run game, which I feel definitely was a load on offense for them last season. I'm still not a very great believer, if you saw my last podcast of Jimmy Garoppolo. I'm not going to hate on the dude, but I'm going to have to see something from him this season to prove that he really can stay there and be this team's franchise quarterback.
Yeah.
They did lose DeVorest Buckner too, but they also drafted Javon Kinlaw, who looks like he can fill in that role hopefully well. Again, he's a rookie, so you never know what will happen with rookies. Hopefully he meshes well. I really like Shanahan as their head coach. I really do. He's a great offensive mind. Obviously, he's gotten, in my opinion, average quarterbacks to the Super Bowl. So we will see what happens on that end too. The Kittle contract. So now that he's gotten paid, will he actually be aggressive on this end, or will it be like most time people get paid where it's like, all right, I got paid, I'm going to coast. Hopefully he doesn't, but he's a great talent.
Yeah, when looking at it from that side, one of the key things is that you can look at it from just looking at the side from the end of the year for the 49ers. You can definitely see going in there that Jimmy Garoppolo, they tried to take the football away from him. They were saying, "Hey, man, like let's not let this guy kind of lead the way coming in here, going in through this." So they definitely went to more of a run, more run dominated offense, and that for me just didn't seem right. I think so that going in through here, and so making the mistake. So I meant to say instead of I said Henry, I'm thinking of Higbee.
Okay.
Higbee is their starting tight end. So going back to at least on the Ram side, but
Right.
with George Kittle, he's the second best tight end in the league. That's all I can say about him. There is a bad dude down there in Kansas City that showed why he's a better tight end in the Super Bowl, and we'll get to that later.
All right. But also just one addition to the Niners on how I feel this will either help or could downgrade. They did lose Emmanuel Sanders, who was one of their top receivers last season, but they did add Brandon Ayuk out of Arizona State this season in the draft, he's about 6 foot and has the longest arms I've seen on a receiver in a while. So he's got Garoppolo has catch radius to throw to. The matter of fact is he going to be accurate enough?
Yeah, this is true. All worthy criticisms of that team, but yeah, I think we're right on there. So yeah, I got the Seahawks topping out, but the big question mark of this division has got to be Kyler Murray and those Arizona Cardinals. To me, I think Kyler Murray, the amount of they're not necessarily hate, but understandable criticism of that man getting ready to play NFL level football is now it's definitely diminished. I mean, he's proven that he can at least play. He's definitely got the ability to get going. Kingsbury's got him in an offense that works. I think, if anything, Kingsbury's the one that needs to make sure to prove that he's got something, because now you've got one of the perennial top 3 receiver in the league coming in. You said number 1. He's a top 3. I mean, you've got very little. The only excuse that I could see coming really from them, number 1, they've got a stacked division that they got to contend with,
Exactly.
as well as the fact that Arizona, their defense is. I mean, their defense can be a little suspect on this. So looking at it just off of kind of typical rankings of what you're going to be seeing somewhere in these. So looking at it from this side, we're still looking at it. They're going to be lower on the very low end of the defensive side of the ball. They're not typically one of the higher end that's going to be scoring a whole bunch of points. They're not look good at. I mean, they got to be able to take the ball away. So they might be able to give up a lot of points on the defensive side of the ball, but turnovers is what's going to win it, and that's what wins games in the NFL. They're not going to be able to. They're not going to be a shutout team, like they're not going to be an 2000 Ravens, but they need to be able to make plays when we need them.
Right. I mean, so I want to actually go back to you. You never really said who you had ranked in this division outside of Seattle winning it in their records.
So in this division, I've got Seahawks at 13-3.
Right.
And then I've got the 49ers squeaking it back out. I've got them at 11-5, getting the second place, and having them squeaking into the playoffs with that.
Yep. So do you have let's see, we haven't really said much about the Rams really, but again, I have them third in this division, potentially squeak into second. I have them tied with the Niners at 9-7, like I said previously.
Yeah, it's going to be a close race between I think the Cardinals are not at that point yet to where they're going to be able to compete for the overall win, because I think Seattle's going to have that locked in. But Niners and Cardinals, I mean, Cardinals could shock us very easily. Yeah. They've got a very winnable schedule. It's going to be tough for them, but like I said, I think it's really going to come down defensively to be kind of a to kind of be a nice little surprise on that side of the ball. So, but yeah, I've got the Seahawks winning it with the Niners getting in second.
Do you have the Rams or Cardinals third? Because like I said,
okay,
well, let's talk about the Rams real quick, since we didn't really put a whole lot of emphasis on them. I mean, you did. I mean, we kind of talked about Hard Knocks and stuff. But I feel like this team's main key right now, I mean, they did lose Todd Gurley, so that running back position is going to be tough. But they did draft Cam Akers out of Florida State, so I do like that addition. Hopefully he can be the running back I believe he can be after watching his tape. The dude can ball. So hopefully it transitions over to the NFL. And, and then defensive side of the ball, this team really does have talent. Donald, probably the best defensive tackle in the league right now. And then you have top 3, arguably best corner in the league right now, if not the best, in Jalen Ramsey. He's looking for a new contract, but he's playing it outright. He's controlling what he can control. He's ready to play, prove again that he's a top corner in this league, and he's ready to get paid. So I think the Rams can definitely make some noise in this division. But like I said before, I think this is the most competitive division. Will the Niners have a slump? You never know about that. And I have the Cardinals last at 8-8, and I finally want to reiterate on your side of the ball, saying you don't know how the Cardinals are going to look defensively. They did just pay Buda Baker, their safety there, pretty well. So I think he can step up. They still have Patrick Peterson, who is proving to be a top-tier corner. And if he can stay healthy, they have Jordan Hicks at the linebacker position. So, again, this is going to rely on the defensive line, really. And you said before, Kyler Murray's definitely proven himself with the Cardinals. He just won Offensive Rookie of the Year, which was awesome. And then they added talent for him with DeAndre Hopkins.
For sure.
They love what they have in their running back.
Well, the only reason I say that, Dylan, that they've got to work on their defensive side of the ball. So last season, they ranked dead last in yards allowed. So they allowed over 400 yards of defense against their defense per game. So that was total. And so looking at it here, so yards per game, Arizona was letting go over 281 yards through the air and almost 120 average on the ground. So they ranked almost dead last in every conceivable, all the major categories looking at that. So passing, rushing, and then points, they had over 442 points per game, 442 points total, 227.6 points per game against them. So that right there is a lot of work on the defensive side of the ball to top out a team. So if we look at it, the higher end of their the spectrum there, you're going to look at if we look here over on, so if we come in to say like a Seahawks, they're still, they're still defensively struggling. But when you get into a team like the 49ers, when they're averaging, total yards of offense, they're only allowing 280 yards a game. That's up there with the Bills, the Patriots, and the Ravens, when the slowest in the league. So the 49ers defense is going to be what I think carries them past, teams like Arizona in that division.
Well, I 100% agree on you with that. I just made it sound. I mean, I get you. They definitely have a lot to prove, but they have talent on that side of the ball, and I really think if they prevail, this team could be looking at a playoff berth potentially. But again, I know I have them at 4th, but I really think they have a shot at getting that 7th or 6th spot if somehow the Rams, something happens to them. Again, injuries are part of the game, so you never know what happens in this situation. Let's move on down to the NFC North.
Chicago, get you a hot dog.
Oh, man. All right. So I want you to start this one off. Who you got? You got winning this division.
So first of all, let it be known, down with the pack. Aaron Rodgers being one of the most uncharismatic football players that's in the NFL right now. He's about as entertaining as a doorknob. But he's a great football talent. Sadly, with that, his coach, I mean, luckily Jordan Love is apparently atrocious in practice, so that a small burden has been lifted off of Rodgers' back. But really, the big guys in the North right now, you got to give it to the Vikings. I think the Vikings right now, with my projection on their record, it's going to be sitting at a 12-4 record, just barely beating out the Packers by a game. I think, with Dalvin Cook at the running back position, I think, gosh, I can't think of his,
Adam Thielen.
Adam Thielen, yeah, but I knew Adam Thielen, but I'm going off of their quarterback.
Kirk Cousins.
Good old Kirk, Captain Kirk. The whole thing with him is everybody dogs on him with their prime time sign. That's fine. The man is going to be able to squeak out wins over people like Detroit. He's going to be able to win those games that you need him to win. And then it just comes down to the big time. So the upside is, they're playing one of the few, them being a northern team, they're a run dominant football team. They're going to be able to run the ball effectively. They're going to be able to do what they want. And then, at the end of the day, we'll be able to see. I mean, they squeaked out that win against New Orleans at the end of the year. And really, if it wasn't for the 49ers and the dominance that they had, we could have seen the Vikings in the Super Bowl. They're a win away from getting to the dance. So I think that their coaching staff gets them lined up. I think their defense is solid. Defensively, they had a decent year on the defensive side of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
So I have them, I have them coming out and doing some things out there. So I have the Vikings winning that division with a record of 12-4.
Yeah,
So
I also have the Vikings winning that division, but 11-5, again, a game above the Packers on my list. And that, like you said, with their defense, yeah, they have a solid defense, and it just got even more solid with the added of Yannick Ngakoue, the trade they just made a couple days ago. And their secondary, it's been in question, but I do like who they added. I like Jeff Gladney a lot, the cornerback they drafted in the first round out of TCU. Also, they did lose Everson Griffin. That does hurt, but they still have their linebacking core and Eric Kendricks. He's proven that he can win that.
yeah,
And win that side of the ball for them. They're a question. They did lose Stephon Diggs, but can Justin Jefferson step up in that role and fill it? How they like to, even, no matter who their head coach is, somehow they always find a coach that loves to utilize their tight ends. And they still have Kyle Rudolph, young tight end too, and Irv Smith. So you never know with that side of the ball. And I love what you said about Dalvin Cook.
look at it. So just offensive stats from last season. The Minnesota Vikings rank at the top of the list in the top, they're almost in that top 5. The only teams that outrank them rushing the football are going to be Baltimore, San Fran, Tennessee, Seattle, and Dallas. All of those guys, coming in with real. I mean, you look at it. Baltimore rushing wise, there's a guy at the QB position that equates to 1,000 yards of that.
And they have a two-headed monster in the backfield.
Exactly. And then you look at it. So Seattle Seahawks, those are, Tennessee Titans, Derrick Henry decided to put the entire, team on his back and load him up for the playoffs. So you look at that and, Dalvin Cook, the thing with him is that he's also a dual threat, back. His threat is not only his rushing ability, but it's also him out of, running those swing patterns out of the back. I think they have a very dangerous offense. They have a solid team. They're going to be a team to look out for. I think they're a perennial playoff team as of late. So I think that they're an easy one to put at the top there.
Exactly. Yeah. Moving down, like you said, you have the Packers at 2. I also have them, but I have them with 10-6. My concern with them is no added weapons for Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
Can Devontae Adams really carry all this load?
Yes.
And, I love Aaron Jones, and they did draft a running back too. They'll probably definitely utilize that run game, but you still have a arguably top 5 quarterback in the league still on your roster, and we see that quarterbacks they're gonna make or break you, really, especially when your defense is still young. How it is, yeah, they have a very young secondary as well to me. So we'll see if Kevin King can step up and be the man for him at that corner position.
For sure. The biggest thing for me coming in from the Packers side, number one, at the end of the day, love him or hate him, Aaron Rodgers he's a top quarterback. He's a top quarterback talent. He, for some reason, figures out ways to just win games where you're just like, what the hell was that? But as a player, the dude, he's seemingly on everybody's top 5 quarterbacks. Everybody seems to love him. But the biggest thing right now is, does his coach love him? It seems there's been a lot of chirping, drafting a quarterback when everybody's hoping you're going to get a running back, you're going to get a wide receiver, the deepest wide receiver class in like a decade, and they draft a quarterback when you've got the bad man and Aaron Rodgers.
And the worst part of it, they didn't even draft a receiver all of the draft. Like, they had
nothing.
No receivers. None.
Less. I think with Aaron's, his ability, like you said, Jones is going to be able to he's going to be able to do some stuff for him, but it's just, I think it's weird is they're not going to be bad. They're
not at all
winning. I have them coming in at 11-5. So they're very close up there. It's going to be pretty tough. But that to me, but the real
for the Packers, like I said, I mean, it just depends on how Aaron Rodgers stays healthy as well. You know, we've looked at it. He's had some injury history, so we'll see how that goes.
Right. All right. Moving on down for the third place in this division, I have the Chicago Bears at 7-9.
Bears.
Again, like everybody, their quarterback controversy. We saw Mitch be
Yep.
inconsistent last season, be inaccurate. They added Nick Foles. We've seen Nick Foles just seems to fit the Philadelphia Eagles system. We've seen what Nick Foles did when he wasn't with the Eagles. I mean, yeah, he's gotten paid. I think he deserved the payment, but
Touchdown for 60 yards against the Super Bowl champions. That's what the last thing that he did. So the fact that he's not going to beat out Mitchell Trubisky in a town that wants to literally run him off half the time, yeah, I think because you got to think about it. I mean, he literally, I mean, he's okay. He's an inconsistency. I mean, it's not what it needs to be. You know, they're looking for a team. I mean, Chicago is one of those teams that's so hungry for wins. They just want to be good. I mean, they've got the defensive side. I mean, they've got that monsters of the midway feel. You know, it's just they just need that quarterback to take them to that next level. Because unless you've got an all-time great defense behind you, you've got to be able to throw the ball. We've seen that time and time again with these teams. So I think, yeah, I too have the Bears coming in, squeaking the third place slot. I have them putting in at 9-7. And this is that's also assuming still that Mitchell Trubisky is going to be the starter week 1. I mean, we'll see.
yeah.
I mean, because Nick, I think, comes in there after week 3 and then just throws the team on his back and take him for a ride.
I like that. But yeah, and then you going back to the offensive instability. They did just lose David Montgomery to injury, so that's gonna hurt. They do have Tariq Cohen, who's a great talent when utilized right, but I feel like he's more of a third down, fourth down back. He's a receiving back. He can run the ball too, but he's not going to be able to carry as much load as, say, Aaron Jones or Dalvin Cook can in this division. So that David Montgomery loss is definitely going to hurt their offensive depth. And they did, though, add Jimmy Graham on the offensive side. I know he hasn't been very relevant in the media, I should say, these past couple of years, but he can still play in this league. So that is a weapon for Mitch or Nick Foles, whoever wins it. I personally think Nick's going to get it. I hope it's week 1, but we haven't heard anything, so it'll probably be week 2 or week 3, like you were previously mentioned.
Right.
So, and then just to add, like you said, they have a solid defense. Khalil Mack is probably the best pass rusher in the game. Danny Trevathan's still at the linebacker spot. That's a monster right there. So they definitely have it on that defensive side of the ball to be able to win games. I do have them at 7-9 because they do have a semi-tough schedule, and then this division, it really is tough outside of the Lions to get past the Packers and the Vikings.
I think they've got, looking at it on their side, they've got some good guys on the receiving side. Allen Robinson, he's a decent receiver. I'm a big fan of Cordarrelle Patterson as a wide receiver. I think he does a lot of really good work.
Stay healthy though.
This is true. The big thing, you look at it, you look at the defensive side of the ball. Akeem Hicks, he's always been solid there. When you go into some of these guys, you've got Khalil Mack, he's going to require a double team all of the same time, that he's there. Roquan Smith at that inside, be able to solidify that for a while. But really, I think where they're really going to be lacking is on the back end. Like you were, just looking at the corners and safeties from that team, they're going to be missing some guys. So that back end defense, because what's going to happen when they have Aaron Rodgers, slinging the rock down their throats? What's going to happen when they've got
challenge the deep threats of people like Seattle. That's going to be the hard part. You know, they can hold up the front of the line, but it's that back half of their defense that I think is suspect.
Totally agree. Totally agree. All right, let's move on down, which it looks like we both have them in last in this division with the Detroit Lions.
And apparently these, you know, now not paying Megatron money that they owe him, which I think is hilarious, but just unbelievable. Yeah, it's Matt Patricia, you know, another little product, the
Belichick.
down and up in there in New England, but really, I mean, in my opinion, Matt Stafford is one of the best talents to achieve practically nothing in the NFL. He had a playoff appearance once that I can think of, and that's about it. You have one of the greatest, you know, one of the greatest players. I mean, you could stick. I mean, you could get almost, I dare say you almost give him Patrick Mahomes, and they'll figure out a way to mess it up. You know, because at the end of the day, Matthew Stafford is not untalented. He's not a horrible quarterback.
Not at all.
I do not even the Bears. I have them going. You know, I have them going 4-12.
Same, exact same.
I don't see them winning games. They're not going to be able to beat the Packers. The Packers are still going to be a better running football team than them. They're going to have a better defense. You know, defensive side of the ball. You know, I just don't see. You know, I do not see them doing well. You know, Detroit. You know, offensively, you know, Marvin Jones Jr. is a solid receiver. But really, I mean, it just, I can't really see them doing what they need to do to get the job done.
I mean, considering they don't really have the top talent on offense or defense side of the ball, and they have the sixth toughest schedule, that's already going to hurt them in the long run. And then what are they going to do at running back right now between Kerryon Johnson, and they did draft DeAndre Swift, but I feel like both of them are the same type of back. They're third down back. So what are you going to
well, I mean,
push forward?
Yeah, and looking at it, you know, when your wide receiving core consists of Kenny Galladay, Marvin Jones Jr., and Danny Amendola, that, you know, they don't have a stable of thoroughbreds back there. You know, they're good, solid receivers. I mean, but those guys are dudes that you need for, you know, Miracle Hardman of the Chiefs is at that kind of talent level, you know, he's in that wheelhouse. You know, he's that kind of, hey, we got a guy that's pretty quick. The only good thing about Detroit is that they play in a dome.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Cold weather team in dome, that tends to steal you a couple games here and there.
Yep, that is true. And then you've seen the questions with Stafford's health too. So if he somehow goes down again, it's just going to make it even worse.
Yeah, it's just it's crazy. Yeah, that I'm done with those losers.
Yeah. All right, down to the good old NFC South.
Now, this is where we're gonna put some spice.
Yeah.
Let's go.
All right, here we go. Number one, I have New Orleans Saints win this division at 13-3. They already were a great team last season. Already proved that they could potentially compete for the Super Bowl on this NFC side. They Michael Thomas, who just broke the reception record last season, I hope he gets paid soon if he hasn't already. But I think it was great of them to add Emmanuel Sanders on that receiving corps, because they didn't lose anybody talent-wise on their offensive side of the ball. They really did not. They still have Latavius Murray and Alvin Kamara in their backfield. And, I mean, and ultimately they have Drew freaking Brees. Drew Brees is going to be able to win you football games. Like, it doesn't matter who you put around him. He's another Aaron Rodgers type.
Yeah, and my inner Cajun self is just going to hate me for this, but I disagree with the winner of this division. Sadly, the old Rivers coming down, you know, not Phillip Rivers, the even older guy named Tom Brady
That dude is going to win this division. He's going to be coming in there. I have the Buccaneers going 11-5, winning it.
I actually
Winning
had them going 11-5 too, but I had them in second. So that's we'll
the-
see.
we will see. But the thing for me, go. So I have the Buccaneers winning. We'll stay on topic with the Saints. Yeah, I mean the only thing with me is that I feel like the Saints have had just too much heartbreak. They've been too close to they're in a winnable division. I think they've got a good one, but we're gonna see the showdown opening weekend though. We're gonna be able to see who's gonna. I think opening weekend we will. I will say this right now: whoever wins, New Orleans or Tampa Bay, whoever wins that game wins their division.
Bold take, bold take. I actually want to see who I have in that. My goodness. Okay, okay. Fair enough. Fair enough.
Whoever wins it wins the
I
division.
mean, if that lives up to it, then I'll be correct.
I have a hard time picking against Tom Brady, against anybody. And even now,
Okay.
so going back to I'll try to stay focused here, Saints. So the whole thing with the Saints, though, for me, I just I think that I think they're going to be good. I think they're going to win games. I don't see that. I think Drew Brees is just finally getting to that point where it's slowly drifting off a little bit. I think it's interesting though with the addition, if Drew Brees declines, like if he gets hurt again, they got Jameis back there. Do they resurrect Jameis and turn him into what he should have been?
Just like they're probably going to resurrect Teddy Bridgewater.
Yes, exactly. Teddy Bridgewater, exactly so far. But looking at that, but you can't not say that. I mean, it's so hard to go against New Orleans when Alvin Kamara right now there's a little bit of questions about him so far, but I mean, when you look at that wide receiving talent so far, I mean, you've got Michael Thomas, Emmanuel Sanders, Traquan Smith, with Jared Cook at tight end. That's a tough group. And then you've got the Swiss Army knife of football, that beautiful fast guy down in Taysom Hill. It's just unbelievable.
Get out of
It's
here.
what the packages that they're able to make for him. Sean Payton's a freaking genius.
What is
He's
2-point conversion packages?
2-point conversions. Heck, they're going to put him at, they could put him at quarterback and have him do some crazy wildcat nonsense. I mean, and then the defense right there, I think they've got a solid defense. I don't think there's a whole lot of major holes in the Saints. They've just got a tough schedule. They've got a tough ass time to play. But that's kind of my take on the Saints.
I mean, with the strength of schedule, I mean, they're at 24, so they're kind of in the bottom quarter
Yeah.
of it. But
That one, and it's the Saints though. Saints will figure out how to. They weren't called the Aints for 20, they're half their entire careers for nothing.
bring it the pass. It's fine.
Trust me, they figure out ways to lose games.
I got you. I got you. Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. There's not too many holes in any of their football team, especially them getting Malcolm Jenkins back at safety, and then they added Janoris Jenkins. Again, he has off-field issues, but he has shown that he's a talent in this league. So like you said, I don't see really any holes in this team, but I have them first strictly because of their weapons. I think Tom Brady could easily win this division too. I still have them at 11-5, but Saints have an easier schedule, and I don't know. I just think Drew Brees prevails on this one.
Oh man, dude, so can we talk about the Bucks now?
Yep, let's go to the Bucks. Let's get it.
Oh, man. Literally the depth of their offense is so batshit crazy.
Facts.
I mean, just looking at some of their players, you're like, how the hell did this manage? How does Tom Brady get to leave New England and get to go to a team that's like, hey, we're really good. Come here. And it's like, awesome. I mean, their offensive line, they're solid. O.J. Howard and Rob Gronkowski, solid tight end duo right there.
Nuts.
I mean, when you've got Mike Evans, Chris Godwin,
and Scotty Miller, all running back there catching passes for the Tom Brady, the GOAT man himself. And then you have that defense that's just sitting back there like, you want to get Tom off the field so we can take the field, take the ball away from you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just bonkers, man. Their defense was impressive. I mean, they were able to make Jameis Winston competitive, for throwing more interceptions than, an interception machine.
Hey, man, you needed glasses. Come on now. I'm just messing with you. I'm just joking.
I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I agree completely with you. Two-headed monster on the tight end side. Their receiving core's nuts. They also added Tyler Johnson, the speedy receiver out of Minnesota. So, again, weapons out the wazoo for Tom Brady on this one. Their running back core with Keyshawn Vaughn. And then they also still have they did add LaShawn. I forgot about that. Yep, you're right.
Yeah, and
then Ronald Jones still. Yep.
It's just, I mean, just off the running backs. I mean, he could be fine just handing them the ball. So
he really could. And then in defensive side, I have slight questions in their secondary right now, but the addition of Antoine Winfield in the draft, I think he could be. He's still obviously going to have to earn this title, but I think he could be the next addition of a Honey Badger type. That Tyrann Mathieu nickel safety who will hit, who can cover, and ain't afraid of nothing. But we'll see what happens on that end. And then you have Levante David, young Devin White, middle linebacker, and then Shaq Barrett, obviously. You still have Ndamukong Suh, which, again, I know he's not relevant in the media much anymore, but he can still clog holes for you on that D-line. And
either that or you can stomp on somebody's helmet whenever.
all right. Come on.
Act like he didn't do it.
I mean, he did, but,
yeah, that's why they wear helmets, Dylan.
I know.
Helmet. But yeah, they interesting thing though. Yeah, so I mean, Buccaneers and Saints, those are going to be the tough ones.
It really is. I mean, either way, I feel like those two are going to come out on top. I think it was just kind of how the tables turned and on this next team for the third place I have in this division. I think the Carolina Panthers can be competitive, but I have them at third and only going 6-10. Their strength of schedule isn't that great, so it's just really how everything lined up for them. But they still have a lot of questions. What's their defense going to do this season? Can they step up and fill the need that they need on that side of the ball? Teddy Bridgewater, he showed promise with New Orleans, and I loved him when he was with Minnesota, but that knee injury was obviously tough to come back for if he didn't play in the league for almost 2 years. So that's a question mark. And Christian McCaffrey was their load last year, and you saw what happened. Like, he did amazing things, but they did not get to the playoffs, and they ended up having to cut ties with their coach. They got him to the Super Bowl not too long ago, so that kind of hurts. But I do like Mark Rule, the ad. I hope I said his first name right. Anyway, Matt Rule.
Yeah, so I too. I have Panthers going 6-10. The Panthers, I think, with the Matt Rule, I think is going to put them at a good spot. I think that they're in a transition year. I think Teddy Bridgewater is going to be a solid QB for them. I think it kind of is what it is. They've got Christian McCaffrey, so they're going to be fine on offense. Right. I think they're going to be fine. It's just going to be really hard to squeak out the wins they need to in their division to be able to beat. I don't see. I mean, they may split again here and there between, but I feel like New Orleans or Tampa Bay will probably end up beating them both of their times. It's hard to get 2 wins over those teams. So that's the thing I'm thinking for them. I think there's kind of see what happens. There might be a pleasant surprise with Carolina. I don't see them proving much in that.
Right. Yeah, I 100% agree with that. All right, now moving on down to number 4 in this division. What'd you say?
The Dirty Birds.
Yeah, I have the Atlanta Falcons, but I also have them going 6-10 too. It's this is based off division record right now. If it's strength of schedule, then Falcons would move to 3 and Carolina to 4 because they have the seventh hardest schedule right now this season. Again, I'm still not a firm believer in Matt Ryan. He has had a great season in the past, but I think he's starting to decline way earlier than most quarterbacks do of his caliber. Still a great talent. Hey, prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. That's all I'm going to ask. I'm not trying to hate on Matt Ryan, but prove me wrong.
I feel like the haters are gonna be like, well, he's got Julio Jones.
Oh, facts. I'm not going to deny that.
It's like, okay, said Julio Jones last season too.
Yeah,
He's had Julio Jones for as long as Julio Jones has been in the league.
exactly.
So, I mean, at the end of the day, we got to see what's going to happen from their side. Really, when you look at it, from the other side from them, in terms of some of these guys, with that division, I think Carolina and them, they've got a lot of stuff that they can, they got to play Carolina twice. They got to play, they got to play against the freaking Saints twice. Then they got to play against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Really, what I think is going to come down to it is really what do they look at on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, if they can get a little bit better on defensively. So they had their interception leader last year was Desmond Trufant with 4 interceptions.
He's not even with them anymore.
And so you lose your best. That's what I'm saying. You're losing, your biggest takeaway. Turnover ratio is what wins big games in the NFL.
Right.
You're looking at it. Matt Ryan last year, I mean, he had a good solid season, but he's also in the NFC South. And I mean, he had a 4,000-yard season, but he's also and that's only, he's completing 60% of his passes. But the problem is you're looking at it when you're getting sacked he's getting sacked 48 times last season. That's got to tighten up. You got some of these guys that are there. It's definitely got to be a lot of work on that side. I mean, when you got, Todd Gurley, that's going to be a big
addition.
That's a big addition for them because, they lost their leading rusher. And a big one right here too, we're going to see what's going to happen. Once again, we've got Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley playing for them. That's a good team right there, but they've got an interesting side. I mean, nobody wows you on that team.
No, exactly. I mean, they did lose Austin Hooper, so that hurts too. But going back to the defensive side with you saying not really getting a lot of takeaways and that you had Desmond Trufant who you lost. They also lost Keanu Neal last season, and that hurts. That's your best secondary guy. And so he'll come back. Hopefully he can stay healthy too. That could help boost that defense, but like you said, no one really stands out that much on that team. They do have McKinney, I believe, but again, just too many holes to fill on them to really go. And what's his name? Dan Quinn, I believe, is their head coach's name.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, honestly, he's lucky still have a job right now with them. Obviously their players like him, or they wouldn't have finished the way they did to make sure he kept his job. But if they would have played how they did in the first half last season and in the second half of it, he probably wouldn't still be coaching there. So,
yeah,
that's a tough situation.
They're definitely at the bottom end of that division. There's no way I mean, unless somebody's getting hurt, that's the only way I see them doing something.
Exactly. Well, that does it for the NFC. So
Awesome.
All right, before we head over to the AFC side and do our predictions there, I just want to add a quick little update. Alvin Kamara is now on the trade block. So that's kind of interesting. We'll see what happens on that.
A little bit more on my side that Saints probably ain't gonna win that division.
I mean, we'll see. I still like the Saints still.
We'll see. Breaking news.
All right, let's start this AFC off. Let's start with the AFC East. This is
pretty easy. Bunch of garbage.
I mean, yeah, if you want to be rude about it. But yeah, we'll see. They might take over the NFC East as the least competitive division. So we'll see what happens.
it's hard.
All right, so to start it off with winning this division, I have the Buffalo Bills at 9-7. So just with that record alone, you can tell I'm not very confident in this division to really just compete even once they get in the playoffs.
Yeah. Oddly enough, so my division winner is different than yours, but not much of a different record. I have the Patriots with Cam Newton as their starting quarterback for the first time, somebody different since Matt Castle back when Tommy Brady broke his leg. Um,
Yeah.
them going 8-8 and winning. Yeah, so I mean I don't think the Bills their quarterback, I think he regresses just a little bit. I mean they have some additions with Stephon Diggs, right, coming in
Yep.
at wide receiver. I think that helps out a lot. But it's I mean it's a tricky little division with those teams. I think yeah, but I still think the Patriots kind of squeak out the overall win.
I got you. I actually have the Patriots at 8-8 as well, but they're in 2. The reason I have the Bills winning this, I like their defense a lot. They have a lot of depth. Tre'Davious White at corner, Ed Oliver up front. Like they got a great freaking defense, to be honest with you. And yeah, I can see Josh Allen potentially regressing. You never know with him. He is a little inconsistent, but the dude does have a cannon and finally has more of a wideout to throw to with Stephon Diggs. So
I mean, I think that division's up for grabs. I think with those are definitely the two teams that are pushing towards the lead.
yeah,
Um, Dolphins, I think the biggest thing for me with them is that I don't know when really we're going to see Tua start.
right. Yeah,
Um,
I agree.
I think if Tua was supposed to, I mean, I think Matthew Fitzpatrick's good enough to be their starting quarterback. Let Tua get a little more accustomed into the system, maybe even split time.
Mm.
But I think by the end of by the end of the year, Tua is going to be the man over there in Miami. There's no real reason why he shouldn't be. I think,
They drafted him in 5th pick, I believe. So there's no reason.
yeah,
Or was it 4th? It was 4th or 5th. One of those.
yeah. And then lastly, the
Yeah.
goddamn Jets. It Oh man, I mean they're one of the dumpster fires of the league. I just I don't see them having really any real. I mean, Sam Darnold is the only real kind of um, bit of solidarity to that team. Um,
Right.
I think I think Sam's a great, not a great quarterback, but he's super solid. But
Mhm.
he's just with not a great franchise. I just don't think they have they don't have the defense in place. The division, there's teams that are I'll take the Dolphins, Bills, and Pats over them in their division. So I just don't see them pulling out enough wins to be that relevant.
Yeah, I as well have the Dolphins in 3rd at 5-11, and then New York Jets in last in that division with a 4-12 record. With I mean, really with the Dolphins, like you said, when are we going to see Tua? There's quarterback battle, Ryan Fitzpatrick. I mean, we've seen his inconsistency, so hopefully Tua will start sooner rather than later because I think he's ready. I'm still not sold that he'll help get this team to a winning record off the back. Um, I do like their coach and Brian Flores. He definitely will instill toughness in this team like he did last season. You saw everyone thought they were tanking, and then at the end of the season, they proved to win some games, including beat the Patriots towards the end. So that's that shows that this coach is ready to win, but I don't think he has the talent around him. They did add Jordan Howard on offense at running back, and they also added Byron Jones at safety, but or corner, whichever one they want to play him at. But again, and then with the Jets, yeah, I think Darnold's really their only piece. They did draft Denzel Mims, which could be a speedy receiver if he stays healthy. And they did bulk up their O line, drafted Mekhi Becton, the bigger side. But this division, I don't know if that's going to be enough. And like you said, they're not really run. I like their GM, but outside of that, is Adam Gase really going to let Le'Veon Bell carry the load
Yeah.
since they don't have as much talent around Darnold as they really need to? And they lost Jamal Adams, their best defensive player anyway. So
Yeah.
that hurts.
Definitely a lot of work on that side of the ball.
Yeah. All
Now,
right, let's
my neck of the woods.
yes, sir.
I will let you know. But coming down to the AFC West, there is
Sir.
only one team that you need to think about when you're thinking about AFC and you're thinking about greatness. It's that team with that man golden arm down there in Kansas City. My team, the Kansas City Chiefs, gonna just take the broom out and just clean house on all of these fools that want to try to come in and snatch their title from them. I don't think. I mean, I feel like it's a fairly ballsy pick, but I think the Chiefs have got it. So,
What you got them going record wise?
well, I think they have a really tough year. I think it's going to be a hard year at 15-1.
Okay. I
Yep.
see that. I have them at 14-2, and again, like you said, Mahomes coming in off of a Super Bowl victory. You saw the year before where he just missed a Super Bowl, so he really he can play. Best quarterback in the league right now. Deserved his contract of 10 years, which we haven't seen a player in the NFL get a 10-year contract. I don't know how long. And honestly, I know Damian Williams sitting out. It's going to be tough, but them drafting Clyde Edwards-Helaire I think he can step up and take the role at the running back position. They still have their speedy receivers in Hill and Hardman, and then Travis Kelce's. Yep, this team's set for greatness right now.
And they are, and then don't think about it on the defensive side of the ball. You got the honey badger taking people's heads off in the back end. Then you've got Frank Clark
Yeah.
at the freaking defensive side of. I mean, dude, we're solid. We're the most solid team in that division. I mean, the next step. I mean, you got to. What's interesting there is, you got the Chargers. I think the Chargers have got a good offensive roster. Their defense they've got a solid defense on the back end of the football. And really, the big thing here is what are they going to do with Tyrod Taylor? I think Tyrod's look to really prove himself as a starting quarterback. I think he's got a team that's at least, behind him.
He's got
And
talent. He's got talent.
yeah, and it's not like he's lacking much.
Nope.
So I think the Chargers are, I have the Chargers as a pretty high-ranking team on the back end of that
You got
league.
them going and rank wise in this division?
I will have, I actually have believe it or not, they're actually based off of their schedule. I think they actually, sadly, they dropped to 8-8. So I actually have them as the third rank in my league, but
Okay.
Chargers are just a super solid team.
I have the Chargers at second, going 9-7. Like you said, will Tyrod step this up? I hope he does. I love the dude. They did draft Justin Herbert in the first round, so you always are going to look at that. You don't draft a quarterback in the first round for no reason if you don't expect him to come in and play eventually. But I think Tyrod stays at this starting spot unless injury happens. I think he stays there the whole season. They definitely have talent. I really like their coach as well. He's proven to be a tough-nosed coach, and I like that about him, and he's going to get the best out of his players. But they also just had a heartbreak with Derwin James getting hurt. Their key end safety, who is projected to have a great season this year. He goes down with, I believe, it's a meniscus injury. I think it's a tear if he's out 6 to 8 months. That's the only thing I feel like would keep him out that long. I might be wrong, though, on that end. And then, I mean, they lost Melvin Gordon, but, I mean, their running back position still secured with Austin Eckler. So hopefully they get things going and they can compete in this division. This division will be a competitive league, but the Chargers can definitely compete.
For sure.
Yeah, next, I'm assuming this is your number 2 in this division. I had them at 3, the Las Vegas Raiders at 8-8.
The Raiders going away from Oakland. It's just it's a little piece of you that feels like it's breaking off. But we just moving in. They went from one. They're going to just the more uppity city,
Higher market city.
Yeah, I mean they're just. I think it's a little change for them. John Gruden. Really, the biggest story for them is Derek Carr. Like, I don't know why. I don't know what it is about Derek that John doesn't seem to kind of like jive with. But
Right.
I've always been a fan of Derek Carr. I think he's got a good good, decent arm. He's not an insane athlete, but I think he's solid enough to where he's played really well. But it's like, man, you traded away some of his best players. The only time recently he's had a really good weapon,
Right.
and it just happened to be a guy who was a head case in
Yeah.
freak
Antonio
Brown,
Brown. Yeah.
Antonio Brown. Yeah, Antonio Brown just was a head. I mean, but you could see that he wanted him so bad. I mean, he's in one of the toughest divisions. He's like, you're expecting me, I mean, Darren Waller's a good player.
Yep.
Jacobs is a super solid running back, but it's like, man, you got to be able to compete with the firepower in that division. I mean, the
Exactly.
Chargers and even the Broncos to a certain
Yep.
point, but they were no slouches.
Nope.
They're great, but there's a lot of work to be done through that.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I like Derek Carr a lot, and I feel like he definitely has the leadership of this team. And going back to what you said, him and Gruden maybe not meshing. I just think that's Gruden's attitude with quarterbacks. This dude is a quarterback guru where he's going to look at every single quarterback and be like, oh, could I have a better one? Even if he does have a solid one, he's always going to look for a better quarterback because that's his style of play. That's who he is. That's what he really likes to focus on his quarterbacks, as you saw in his previous QB Gruden camp where he'd always have quarterbacks on. This dude just loves breaking down quarterbacks. So,
Right. Yeah, I think so too. I'll also then, man, you got the Broncos down at the end. I think they're in a kind of a rebuilding state where I think they don't really. I don't see them going super far with their team.
yeah, I have them last as well with a 7-9 record. The addition to Melvin Gordon and they already have Philip Lindsay. That's a great backfield for them. Can their O-line hold up? That's a question. Can their defense be as monstrous as it used to be? That's another question. Hopefully Von Miller can step back up and do his thing. And then again, Drew Lock. I mean, he didn't start till late. He was battling injury last season, but he showed promise. But does his team have the talent level to take him next? They did draft Jerry Jeudy. They do have Cortland Sutton, so those are some decent receiving talents that he has on his end for him. And going back to the Raiders, I mean, they did add Henry Ruggs, speedy, so that might help Derek Carr as well. But so, I mean, two former college teammates playing in the same division in Ruggs and Judy. So that's nuts.
I agree. I think you got. I mean, it's gonna be an interesting division with those top three teams.
Yeah.
Like I said, you could just mark it off. Chiefs. That's all you got to worry about. Chiefs. Chiefs win, baby. That's
Yeah, I'm not gonna deny you on that. All right, let's move on to the AFC North. I feel like this one's pretty obvious in who wins this as well, especially if they just continue to grow from last season. I have the Baltimore Ravens in first with a 13-3 record. Again, like Mason mentioned earlier, they were number one in the running back position, or not in the running back, in the rushing yards position.
number one in rushing yards, but
Yeah, they still have Mark Ingram and added J.K. Dobbins, so that they also added Calais Campbell too from the Jags, another defensive end to that already monstrous defense. So there.
yeah, I mean, Baltimore is one of the most solid teams in recent memory.
Yeah.
Really, what's going to come down to it, I think, is going to be how teams will game plan for the development of Lamar. But I think Harbaugh at their coaching position is literally just going to make him go from he's just going to be climbing the mountain on become a better passer, which is terrifying because the guy could be the league, one of the league's best running backs.
Yeah.
And then he's like, no, I'm just going to drop 400 on your face every week. And with that division, I mean, really the AFC North, there's some interesting pieces of it. But I think without a doubt, you have to sit with Baltimore at number one.
Yeah, and again, with that two-headed monster with them drafting J.K. Dobbins alongside Mark Ingram is just going to be ridiculous to me. I think they're going to take off with that, and with already having a great rushing attack anyway. Yeah, and then I don't know who you have at number 2, but second, I have the Pittsburgh Steelers going 9-7 with.
I have them fairly close as well. I have them Pittsburgh Steelers at 8-8 with the second place spot with the AFC North. I think with Ben Roethlisberger coming back, you've got a solid running game with Connor and Samuels in the backfield. Those are two solid running backs.
Yeah.
I think offensively with Juju Smith-Schuster, they're going to be be able to move the ball down the field.
As well as adding Chase Claypool. That's going to be – we'll see them skyrocket.
The biggest thing, I mean, it's a big question. What does Big Ben do?
Yeah.
What is the big man at QB? I mean, this is the first time in his life that he's decided to work out in the off season. So, really, what are we expecting from that? And what do we see that progression being? You can see that there's kind of that proverbial fire that's lit under him where he's like, hey, I got to go, win something,
Yeah.
I think, but I think Pittsburgh's got, Mike Tomlin, solid hit.
Yeah,
Got to have a good coach, a good quarterback, that combination there.
And if the playoff system that's going to be implemented this season was implemented last season, they would have been in the playoffs at that 7th spot with their third string quarterback. So I really think Ben coming back and them adding talent on this offensive side is just they really control their own destiny here. I mean, I don't think they're going to be able to beat out the Ravens for the top spot, but they will definitely compete in this division.
Most definitely. Going down the line, so with them, I mean, really, you've got the Browns and Bengals. I give the Browns the slight edge over them with the 3rd spot. Baker's got the most talented team in the league. I think their season hinges on him, whether or not he's able to win big games for them.
Completely agree.
Can he channel that inner OU Baker where he's like just gonna go win it for the team, which he doesn't need to, which is crazy. I mean, he's got so much talent. It's just here, guys, get out. Don't let me get in my own way. Don't let me throw interceptions. Don't making those kind of crazy mistakes. And then kind of just the antics, the shooting more commercials than a commercial that a guy who makes commercials, I don't even know. Yeah. I mean, it's like came out, have one good season, and then we expect
wants to be a media savant.
Yeah, we're expecting a lot out of that kid.
Yeah.
And then so that's my feeling. And then Bengals, I love Joe Burrow, but I mean it's the Bengals.
Yeah, right. I mean, going back to the Browns, like you said, I definitely agree. They have one of the most talented offenses in the league, and it's all going to ride on Baker right now, especially with the addition of Austin Hooper. And if Njoku stays and can get out of his head about wanting to trade, that'll help too on the tight end side. And who they have at receiver and running back, so they're already stacked there. They also did a lot of upgrading this offseason on their offensive line with drafting Jedrick Wills and signing Tyler Conklin, which they definitely needed an upgrade on. So that's my answer on them. They also added Carl Joseph, at safety, and also Andrew Sendejo. So they definitely have upgraded that secondary side. So they really could compete, but I'm not a huge Baker believer right now. So that's why I have them. I have them at 7 and 9 in my 3rd spot. And then the Bengals, again, I like Joe Burrow a lot too. But this is going to be a concern with can their receivers stay healthy for him? A.J. Green's known to go down. John Ross is known to go down. They did draft T. Higgins out of Clemson, but again, rookie receivers and rookie quarterbacks, they're not going to start out being able to win you a Super Bowl. So he's going to have to really step up on that side and hope that their receiving core can stay healthy. And then defense always has concerns too. And I mean, I like their head coach. I think he can help this team go. But again, like you said, it's the Bengals, and they always seem to have a roller coaster of seasons every year.
Exactly.
All right. Well, moving on down to our last AFC division, we got the AFC South. Besides the Jaguars, I think this division could be fairly competitive, but It's all going to determine on defense and quarterback play. And so with winning this division, I still have the Houston Texans, even though they did lose D-Hop at 10-6. I think the addition of Brandon Cooks as well as Randall Cobb will fit into a Bill O'Brien system. And Bill O'Brien finally got his running back that he's wanted, and David Johnson. I know he hasn't shown to stay healthy, but if he does, we all know Bill O'Brien loves to run the ball, and that's a perfect guy to do it for him. hopefully this offensive line can hold up too. I mean, they've slowly tried to build that offensive line up, so we'll see what happens on that end. And their defense is always going to be a top 10 defense in this league. I mean, J.J. Watt's nuts, and
Yeah, I I think you're spot on with. I mean, really, the thing that pushes you over the edge in this league is quarterback play. Deshaun Watson proved in the playoffs that he can win you games. He's in a very decent, division right now with, with the Colts kind of being so-so, the Jaguars deciding to just completely say adios and we'll see you in 2021. Um, I mean, really, the only team that I can see being competitive with them, in my opinion, is going to be the Tennessee Titans. But so far, I have the Texans winning that division with the third highest, with the second, technically tied. I actually have the Texans having an amazing year, bounce back, even without DeAndre Hopkins at a 14-2 record.
wow.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, Houston fans might love you for that one. I mean, I still got them in the one in this division, but wow, they pulled that off without DeAndre Hopkins, and then all that skepticism about Bill O'Brien might go out the damn window.
I know. I mean, just looking. I mean, this was just going off looking through there. I just don't. I mean, I think that the Houston Texans with their schedule
Mhm.
as of right now, I think they've got a good setup. Also, if you look at it as well, we're looking at for their bye week. Bear with me. Okay, so looking at here, they've got a nice halfway season. So their bye week is right at week 8. So
Right where you want it.
yeah, you want it right in the middle of the year so they can take a nice little siesta down in Mexico or something and come on back and be ready to go.
I got you. I got you. Yep,
In Texas.
exactly. So yeah, the number 2 spot, I have the Indianapolis Colts on this one at 7-9. I also had the Tennessee Titans at 7-9, but I had them third due to division record, and the Colts win strength of schedule as well on that. So my again, will Phillip Rivers mesh? I like the Colts head coach and Frank Wright. They did draft Jonathan Taylor, which gives them that solid running back, I believe, for the future. And they arguably have one of the best O lines in the NFL. And a lot of games are won in the trenches, so you got to be able to have that O line if you really want to compete. So I believe they can compete in this, but their receiving, I do like T.Y. Hilton, but their receiving core isn't all the way there, and their defense is average for me. They
Yeah.
did add DeForest Buckner, which they did need to, but we'll see what happens on that end of the field. So
10-4. So for me, my second place team, I don't believe too much in Philip Rivers. Old man Rivers can take a hike. And I think he should have went with his 22 kids and went down to Florida and called it a career. I don't see him doing much with I don't see him doing much with the Colts, man. But for me, I think the Tennessee Titans. I think Mike Vrabel is going to whip their asses into shape. Ryan Tannehill proved he's not going to lose the game for you, and he can kind of turn around in big moments. And then you've got Derrick Henry, if he can prove to be healthy. Now, I'll say I am not as big of a fan of Derrick Henry as everybody else is.
right.
Derrick Henry had one good stretch of football. The rest of the time he's been hurt or kind of so-so. When Derrick Henry can prove, if he can prove for me for a season that he can play, yeah, then he deserves all the hype and praise in the world. But I've seen guys play amazing for 5 games before.
Yeah. No, yeah, I got you on that. But I was giving the Colts the edge. Strength of schedule and division wins. I could see the Titans taking this second spot, maybe even they could definitely be better than 7-9. I do believe in Mark Vrabel. He's definitely going to get that defense going for sure. But I'm going to be honest with you. I think it comes down to a Tannehill again.
Yep.
And in my honest opinion, I think it's going to be another relapse of what happened to Miami. He got them to the playoffs, got a great contract, and then didn't do shit after. So,
yeah, I see what happens. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. This game is crazy, that's for sure. Well,
and then at the bottom of this division is the
the
trash can Jacksonville Jaguars.
They literally the team that they may get goose egg. I have them winning. I had them before they decided to take tanking to
Yeah.
the next degree. I had them at least maybe winning 1-2 games. I don't know if they're going to win anything. I think they might literally try to throw the season and just be like, "Hey guys, let's try to win one game this year." Kind of. Maybe if we can have some like miracle in Miami type deal and be like, do a whole bunch of behind the back passes, or something. Just be like, hey, we tried for a game, but
Right.
other than that, yeah, they're tanking.
Yeah, I have them at a 1-15 record. Maybe they get that one game in. We did see Minshew do his little mania stuff every now and again, but I don't think he's going to be doing that often this season.
I mean, unless he spurs them on to actually try to win games, I don't see them doing nothing.
Exactly. No. And then, yeah, the loss of them cutting Leonard Fournette, who they drafted with the 4th pick. Like, you don't draft a running back 4th pick if it's not a long term. Like, you saw what happened with Zeke. Zeke was number 4 as well.
Yeah, I know Leonard Fournette's bald, but I mean, it's not that he's old. He just chooses to look like an old man.
Yeah, so like it really shocked me. And then if you haven't noticed a trend with this team, every single one of their stars always requests a trade. They don't want to be there. They
No.
just, for some reason, the organization hasn't been able to keep their star players. With Ramsey requesting trade, Calais Campbell requesting trade, now Yannick Ngakoue finally getting his trade request.
I mean,
I'm sure Leonard probably did too. One thing I really can point out right now, I mean, they did add some decent defensive pieces in the draft with Caleb Von Chasten and C.J. Henderson. And I do like the receiver in Laviska Shenault out of Colorado. So they are trying, I feel like, to build this team. But when you have a head coach in Doug Marrone, who was supposed to get fired last year and they somehow retained him, kept him, and then you hire Jay Gruden as your offensive coordinator, who he's shown to be a good offensive coordinator when he was with the Bengals, but he didn't do a whole lot with the Redskins. So you kind of have some mediocre coaches right there that might butt heads. I mean, previous head coaches that have to turn back into coordinators will sometimes try to have their way with that coach and try to just butt them out, really, especially in an organization like this. Who, I mean, I just honestly think they're tanking for Trevor Lawrence. That's the only plausible explanation for all these idiotic moves.
It's insanity. They're just, well, there's a reason they're the Jaguars.
Completely agree. Well, that wraps up our division predictions. Right now, I just want to have us say out kind of how the playoff picture will look if this pans out for both NFC and AFC. So let's start with the NFC. I feel like so. I'll go first with mine. I have with the first seed in the NFC for the playoff picture. I had the Seattle Seahawks at 14-2.
Okay.
At 2, I have the New Orleans Saints at 13-3. At 3, I have the Minnesota Vikings at 11-5. At 4, I have the Philadelphia Eagles at 10-6. At 5, I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 11-5. At 6, I have the Green Bay Packers at 10-6. And at 7, I have the San Francisco 49ers at 9-7. Again, that's due to strength of schedule or division wins, however they have it. But the Rams are definitely an honorable mention. I feel like the Cowboys could squeak in there, and I'm not going to count out the Cardinals by any means. They could definitely squeak in that 7th spot if they they really want to.
I hear you. So, Will, going off on my thing, NFC, brace yourselves. I've got the Seahawks coming in at number 1 with a record of 13-3, just chasing behind, 2 games behind the Chiefs of the best record in the NFL. Number 2 from the NFC North, I am putting in the Minnesota Vikings, record of 12-4. Then number 3 from the NFC East, we're going to roll out with the Philadelphia Eagles. I think Carson Wentz gets it done. Record of 12-4, taking it out, the trash out there. And then with the then going in there, so NFC South, I have the and then I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers winning that division, coming in with the 4th place. Coming in at number 5, I actually have the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys with they actually come in with, I could see them winning or losing, but I have them as a 12-4 record.
coming in there. Then for the last two, tying their records at 11-5. For 6 and 7, I have the Green Bay Packers and the San Francisco 49ers. Now, with that being said, I can be swayed. I think chasing in for that 5, 6, 7. I mean, really, you're going to look at it. It's really going to be Saints. You got Saints, Packers, Niners, Rams, and the Cowboys. Those are going to be the teams outside of those top four. I'm positive that those top four, the winners are going. That's who's going to be in. Now that other group, I mean, like you said, a shock to me, which I think is completely possible. If I was going to make a dark horse crazy pick, wouldn't be surprised if the Cardinals switch with the 40.
That's my dark horse.
I think that is definitely possible in the NFC.
Yeah. All right. Well, I like it other than you're having Tampa Bay at a lock at winning that division. I still think the Saints can get that division done, but I'm not – again, it'll be competitive between them and the Bucs, so I'm not going to leave anything out.
I've never wanted to bet against Tom Brady. Doesn't usually –
I got you. All right, moving on to the AFC now. With my first slot, I have, of course, the Kansas City Chiefs at 14-2, defending Super Bowl champs. Number 2, I have the Baltimore Ravens at 13-3. At 3, I have the NFC South champions with the Houston Texans at 10-6. And at 4, I have the Buffalo Bills at 9-7 because, of course, they won their division. At 5, again, 9-7 team with the Los Angeles Chargers. 6 is Pittsburgh Steelers with 9-7. And at 7, I have the New England Patriots squeaking in there because they have the hardest division in football, or hardest schedule, in football this season. So that'll automatically top them over anybody else. But my honorable mention, because they went 8-8 as well, and I could see it flip-flopping at that 7th, is the Raiders. I have between the Patriots and Raiders, and again, a dark horse. I mean, I could see potentially the Colts or Titans finding a way in there, but my dark horse is still the Raiders.
Gotcha. All right. I like it. I like the setup of that. So first of all, I have in NFC East, or actually with number 1, I have in the AFC West, my Kansas City Chiefs, just taking out the broom, just sweeping everybody that comes down there or wherever they go. They just going to bring straight heat. That's all that's going to happen with the Chiefs. Number 2, Baltimore. Duh. I think it's a pretty easy pick. Baltimore's got one of the best teams in football by anybody's standards. Then number 3 in the AFC South, I have the Houston Texans. I think the Houston Texans I think they battle it out, honestly, with the Titans, and they just end up winning more games than the Titans do during the regular season. And then number 4, like I said, I think for some reason I think Cam Newton lights a fire in New England. He has been grinding all offseason. I have him at the 4th spot at the AFC East.
I wouldn't be mad at that. Like I said, the only reason I have Buffalo over him is because of that defense.
Right. So with that, now we're getting into kind of the nitty gritty here. Yep. So really for me, I've got a weird kind of lineup here with 5, 6, and 7. So for 5, I actually have us going down with the Tennessee Titans.
Okay.
The Tennessee Titans squeaking in there with a 9-7 record. That being said, I have them tying Los Angeles Raiders with a 9-7 record. So that one's going to be kind of a flip-flopping piece there. And then lastly, based off of strength of schedule, I have the Los Angeles Chargers getting in. So believe it or not, the AFC West, I actually have 3 teams ending up somehow making the playoffs.
That wouldn't shock me at all.
The only one I could see dipping out. Now my thing is, a dark horse for me is I think the Steelers have a better year than what we think. If Big comes out and starts balling, he's got enough of guys on his schedule that he could upset and beat. And then anytime you got to go to Pittsburgh. I think it's always a tough one.
I mean, I hate to say it, but I mean a slight dark horse could be the Browns. But again, I'm not going to get ahead of myself on that one.
Yeah, show me some winning football and then we'll talk.
Exactly. All right,
So
my guy. Well, I
with
appreciate
that,
it.
so we've got that. I know I'm going to throw you a little curveball. So right now, Dylan Tesh, under the gun on Tesh Talk. There's a little sneak attack. Who's going to win the Super Bowl? What is your Super Bowl matchup? I know, just right off the cuff. You got it.
Chiefs and Seahawks.
Chiefs and Seahawks. I like it. Well, I am actually gonna go. So being a little bit of I'm gonna go with a wild pick here. I'm actually gonna go in and say we're gonna go see the Chiefs and the Vikings play each other in the Super Bowl. I think the Vikings they do some finagling in that NFC. They come out and they actually make it all the way down to the Super Bowl.
You hear that, Dad?
That's for you, Bill Tesh. All right, man. Well, shit. It's been
It's been real.
through it all. We got everything done. I think it was
Yes,
Rox.
sir.
Thanks for the invite.
Oh, absolutely. I appreciate you coming on, my man. I'll catch you
All right.
later.